Hello, and welcome to episode 18 of the Pos-cast with Rabbi Shmuel Posner and myself, Seth Halvin. Rabbi, how are we doing today?
Oh, Baruch Hashem. 18, Chai, alive,
Good
alive.
number.
So I understand not only is our audience international, I think I spoke to somebody last week, told me that they're in Israel and they listen, they watch it, but now you are actually, people will notice the different background. You're in Toronto. So not
Yeah,
only do we broadcast out internationally, we broadcast in internationally, gathering the sparks of holiness from around the world and redistributing them, getting the world ready for Mashiach.
Maine. I'm in a very Jewish area too. There's a shul 2 minutes that way, and then or 2 minutes that way. And then I went for a run this morning, and there were so many Jewish like restaurants and Judaica stores, and I think I ran past a base midrash, and so there were all sorts of things.
Check them out. You can daven chakras in one shul, mincha, another shul. It's amazing.
Yeah, yeah, it's one of those good areas. It's like Brooklyn, except in Brooklyn, you only want to go to one. You want to go to 770.
You gotta go to others too. All right, let's get to the core of the subject here.
Yeah, so I hear mazzles are in order. Whose mazzles
Oh
are in
yes,
order?
yes. Baruch Hashem, our son Meir Shlema and his wife Shana, or his wife Shana Meir Shlema, had a baby boy. Sunday
Oh,
night, Portland, Oregon has a new Jew, and Chani's there doing the bubby thing. Amazing. She sends me photos, reading stories for the kids. It's incredible, incredible. Those kids are lucky, Baruch Hashem, to have a bubby like Chani.
ah,
She's really good. Baruch Hashem. She's been there for 10 days. She'll come home for Shabbos, Mir Hashem. So yeah, it's a big blessing. Big blessing.
so what have you been eating for the last 3 days?
In case people think we script this, we do not.
I'm just saying that if I was Connie, I wouldn't trust you to fend for yourself. So I would have created multiple meals for you to eat until she got back.
That is so not happening. No, that's not happening. So I have two answers. Number one is, thank you very much. I can take care of myself. And number two is, more importantly and more delicious, more satisfying, is that two of our daughters are home this past week.
Uh, so
Dorleya,
you
who's
just
going
get
to
the
Israel
free
next week.
child labor instead. There you go.
Well, that is labor of love. Dorleya is going next week to Eretz Yisrael, to seminary, and Shoshana is leaving today, I believe, to California. She's going to be teaching in Los Angeles. But
Ah,
they've
very
been
nice.
keeping the nutritious, fresh cooked meals. It's been pretty good. I definitely would be eating a lot simpler and probably not as healthy, but we had some delicious kale yesterday and whatever.
Do you know how
But
to make anything other than eggs? Because I think that's the only thing I've ever seen you cook.
we're not talking about this. Sorry.
This is the important conversations that people want the answers to.
So, in addition to making eggs, I do make pasta. That's a
Ah,
yeshiva staple. If nothing else to do, you throw in some, cook up some pasta. I can do that too. And I've watched Chani and picked up a couple of tricks as well. So I do okay. And the freezer is always, there's always something there.
all right. So Honey's been gone since, or not? She's been gone for a while though, right? Because she was gone last week too.
Yes, it's been over a week.
Okay, so new baby boy came on Sunday, but you weren't just
Sunday
sitting
night.
around waiting for the news. You were out on the streets doing mitzvahs. So what's the report from Newbury Street in
Yeah,
Boston
so
this
I
week?
was on Newbury Street, getting phone calls from Chani from Portland, telling what's going on, because she was thinking about her flights and this and that. Babies pop when they're ready. So, yeah, it was amazing. We had it's fascinating when you stand on the street, which is really what we're doing. The whole Newbury Street is closed down, and a lot of stores have put their wares out in the street, and people are coming, and we just, excuse me, you're Jewish, you're Jewish, and then people say like, well, how did you know? And it's like we make up some kind
Because
of thing.
Rabbi is an expert in racial profiling. Yay!
No, no, no. So they so they say, oh, they get very self-conscious, like, oh, what's in my nose, my hair, my this, my that. And we say, no, 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 we know, we know. No. Then when we find it, we want to be truthful. I say, at the end, we tell them, by the way, we ask like 80% of the people walking down the street. So it's not like, oh, we don't know anything. So yeah, the truth of the matter is, what does a Jew look like? What does he look like?
Yeah, you
Tall,
just
short,
kind of know,
fat, skinny. There's no such thing as what a Jew looks like. There's no such thing. It doesn't exist. They come in all shapes and forms, and people you don't think. I'm telling you, the other guy that I'm with, a great guy, Israeli guy, who recent Baal Tshuva like a few years ago, and he's like really strong. He has a little shop over here in Boston, but Sundays he's there on Newbury Street, and he's like straightforward and good. And we always, and I sometimes he'll stop people and he turned out to be Jewish. I'm like, I would never thought so. And like, so I don't play that game. You ask, and what happens? You ask somebody, it's really interesting because when you stop someone, they're not Jewish, and they'll say things like, I'm sorry, or, one guy said to me this, I couldn't believe it. He said, I'm not Jewish. Not everybody's perfect. And I'm like, you're okay. You're okay. So they like to hear when I say, it's all right, have a great day. We should all have a great day. You say something, it's very, it's nice interacting with the non-Jews as well. They meet a Jew, they have we know what's going on with anti-Semitism in the world and whatever. And I think that spreading love is a good thing. Any person you interact with and it's a positive thing, and they say, oh, I met this rabbi in the street, he was nice, he was, he said something nice, something funny, whatever it was, it's a positive interaction that brings, how it works. I once saw there is like if you yawn, a person yawns and someone sees you, they're going to yawn also. If you smile at somebody, they're going to smile back. You try that. If you see somebody saying, good morning, give a smile, they're going to smile back at you. So if you think about it, if you walk in the street and you smile at somebody, that guy smiles at somebody else, we can have the whole world smiling in a matter of, I don't know, a short time. So spreading, goodwill is a good thing. And I'll say something like, everybody should be the best person they can be. We had two things that were like really crazy, like, I don't know, the same day. Not young people, middle-aged to older people, say, I'm Jewish, but I believe in Jesus. I'm like, what? Like, what are you talking? Like, I'm like, okay. It's like, gee. Anyway,
If that actually reminds me, if people think that the rabbi is just a rabbi, no. He's also a great resource to help you with your paper your freshman year of college, as I wrote a paper about Jews for Jesus in a Judaism class, and I compared and contrasted it with Jews for Judaism, which I wouldn't have known about if I hadn't asked the rabbi about it.
Yes, I remember that. Yeah, but we have this one man, which is really incredible. He was walking by, he was holding a cane, and his wife was walking next to him. And I said to him, are you Jewish? He said, yes. I said, you like to put on tefillin? He said, I haven't done it since my bar mitzvah. I said, okay, now it's time to do it again. So he hands the cane to his wife, and she totters over across the street in the shade, and he puts on tefillin. And we have that picture I sent you. Let's put it up there for people to see. Let's see if you can get the right one there. Yes, this is the man.
Yeah, see, I pay attention to the. I think you posted this one on Instagram this week, right?
Yes, I did. But he's 86 years old. That means he hasn't put on tefillin in 73 years. And he's so happy to do it. And he read the Shema and he was into it. And I got his name. He lives in one of the neighborhoods here in Boston. And I contacted the shliach and said, get a hold of this guy. And he was really, really nice and pleasant. It's an amazing interaction. And then and then there's another older man. Let's put him up there. He's not so famous. So he was also walking by with his wife. And I said, you want to put on tefillin? He said, nah, I don't want to do it. And she says to him, put it on. So he put on tefillin because of his wife. Again, he's very happy to do it, and she was, I don't know, she was talking. I think she talks French. The other Israeli guy talks French too. So they were having their thing going at it. So that was it's, I think it's wonderful. A mitzvah doesn't matter. The age is not the point. Like, oh, what are you wasting your time with old people? What are you wasting my time? Every mitzvah counts. Doesn't matter if guy's 13 or 86. And in some ways, an older person, what you're giving them is opportunity to reconnect to their youth and to the bar mitzvah. I think it was bar mitzvah. So it was really a great. That was two examples going on Sunday. But the thing is, when you stand out there and you're asking people, and it's the sun is out, it's really hot and all that, and a lot of people come by, they're not Jewish, and some are Jewish, and like they're in a rush, they don't want to stop, whatever the reason, they don't stop. I mean, it happens. So it's challenging, and then when these people come by, it's like, wow, this is amazing. It'd be worth it to stand there for 5 hours for any one of the people that you end up actually talking to. So there's another thing here. So I'm standing there, right? Meet this young kid walks by, and I say to him, I'm Jewish, yeah. When I put on tefillin. Then I say to him, like, so when was the last time you put on tefillin? He says, like 2 months ago, I was in Israel on a youth trip. I said, really? Oh, that's great. As he's and they start telling, and he's actually starting, he's a freshman, he starts school here in Boston, not Boston University, different school, in a couple of weeks. And he said, I said, oh, the Chabad house, we're talking this and that. Then he says to me, are you Rabbi Shmuel Posner? I'm like, yeah. Like, no one has ever asked me that when I meet him on the street. He says, oh, I was in Israel and I put on tefillin. I decided I want to buy a pair of tefillin. So I was in Haifa looking at this place to buy tefillin. This guy came over to me and he said that his wife used to go to the Chabad house in Boston. So I said to him, oh, no. You were not in Haifa. You were in Tzfat.
Mm-hmm. I was going to say, Haifa does not feel like the place that I would personally be buying tefillin, but...
Right, so he was in Tzfat, and I knew exactly who he was talking to. And he said, yeah, and the guy told me, I shouldn't buy tefillin in Israel because I'm not going to get the right pair, whatever. Wait to go to Boston and contact the Chabad rabbi there. And then he gave me your name. I said, let me see. Here it is. And so here you have, your local Chabad house. So he wrote the name in, and there he is, Yehuda Sugar. And I said, yeah, Yehuda Sugar, who married Jody Klinetsky, who used to come to Chabad house in Boston, going back a few decades. So that was in this, and this is like, we go out there like 11:30, and we stay out there till about 5:30. And he came by like 4:45 when the energy is draining and you're like, okay, we're ready to pack up. And boom, this kid walks by and it's incredible. And so now we're working on setting him up, already put in the pipeline to get him a pair of tefillin. Now, I don't know when he would have contacted me otherwise. He doesn't know where, he's moving into his dormitory, starting school. Tefillin wasn't the number one thing on his mind. And so right. It was incredible that we met this kid. That's one of the things that we see when we do this is the Hashgacha Pratis. Hashem runs the world. We happen to be there. This guy happens to walk by. That you see a lot also with the tourists that come by. A lot of people are, visiting Boston. It's like a thing to do because it's the 10 blocks of stores and things. It's interesting. Anyway, so that's the report from Newbury Street. Open Newbury in Boston, Massachusetts.
I don't know if it was the same rabbi, but I think I seem to remember when I was in Sfat, I met someone who knew you, or at least knew of you, because we went to there was like a falafel and shawarma place, and so we got that. And they came over, and actually, I still have the bencher. They gave me a little bencher because at the time I just, I had it on my phone, and we were talking to them. I forget what it was. We had asked them some sort of a question about something, like a halachic question of some kind, and then had a conversation with them, and then we went to sit down and eat, and they like came out and found us and gave us the little
That's,
venture pamphlet thing.
there's probably a lot of Chabad people running around Tzfat.
I would imagine.
Yeah, yeah. No, Tzfat actually has, I forget exactly when, it's probably in the early 70s that the Rebbe sent a group of shluchim, married couples, and one of the places the Rebbe sent them to was specifically Tzfat. And they, after the 67 war, when they got, I don't know if the Tzfat was part of Israel really before, but anyway, this was maybe the 70s, maybe the late 70s. Anyway, and so they started up the Chabad community, in Tzfat, and really built it up, and it's a very prominent community now, part of Tzfat, the Chabad community there. So yeah, a lot of Chabadnikim there. Yeah. Okay, weiter.
Yeah. So we talked last week. I forget if this was on the podcast very briefly or if this was an off the podcast discussion, but we talked about, does God punish?
Ah,
And
yes,
so
yes. Right. You said, God, we were talking, you said something about, does God punish? We'll talk about it next week. So I think it's important, the whole perspective on reward and punishment, which is a huge topic. And just the fact of, in the parshas we're reading now, a lot of things, don't do this. If you do this, you get this punishment, do that. And the way to look at the way, we understand that the essence of good comes from Hashem. Good, by the way, in English, it's amazing how these two words are so similar, God and good. So if you want to get the good of God, you have God, and you want to have good, you got to put a zero in. A zero means bittul, and bittul, opening yourself up to Hashem's blessings and opening Hashem's good. You have to put your own self on the side. In fact, in the Tanya that we learned today, the Alter Rebbe is talking about that, about pursuing good in the physical sense, which is, children, good life, parnasa, to have livelihood. And the Alter Rebbe says, don't get caught up in those things. Those things are not important. Those things are only valuable for the good that's in them, like the potential for good. It's not a human thing. You don't have human needs. God should give my human needs. Jews are, there's the animate, plant life, animal life, human life, and then there's Jew. There's a fifth strata of existence. We're not human beings, we're godly beings. A godly being in a body. So Hashem says, I want to dwell in the world. So I'm going to create the Jews and I'm going to stick myself in there. That's the neshama that we have. So when you focus on that, then what good is what's good for the soul. Now, the soul is in a body, and the soul's mission is to use the body and to elevate the body. So that's great. So all those bodily things, you got to see the godliness in them. So any interaction with the world is always, what's the godliness that's going on there? So if you're eating a meal, okay, you're eating a meal, that's great. You make a bracha, it's kosher. You're using the energy to do a mitzvah, to walk to that shul that's 2 minutes away. You're doing everything that you're doing in the physical world has that drive of getting into the godliness of it. So when it comes to punishment and reward, why would God punish us? What's the point? Like what? You did something wrong, so I'm going to hurt you? Like, there's no value to that, especially when it's from a position of good. And of course, anytime you discipline somebody, a parent disciplines a child, it's an expression of love. Where's the love? The love is that if you did something that isn't proper, I'm going to discipline you, so now you do something better. You'll grow from it. You'll be a better person from it. So that negative thing now gets transformed into something good. Because I did that, I've learned my lesson. It's not the best way to do it. Hashem treats us in a similar manner. The punishment is a cleansing. That's why, like Yom Kippur, Day of Atonement, which we'll talk about, I guess, when we get closer, but I think Yom Kippur is on Wednesday, so we won't have a podcast going out that day. Anyway.
it's a Sunday. It's a Sunday night into a Monday.
No. Rosh Hashanah, all the Chagim are Shabbos and Sunday. Rosh Hashanah, Sukkot, Shmini Atzeres, it's Shabbos and Sunday. So Yom Kippur is going to be Tuesday night, Wednesday.
Look, it's on my calendar.
What's on your calendar? Yom Kippur?
Yom Kippur, Erev Yom Kippur is on Sunday night.
Oh,
And Yom
happy
Kippur's on
Monday.
Monday.
Oh yeah. Oh my golly. Oh yeah. So it's Monday, Sunday night Monday. Right. Why did I say it's Wednesday?
Because
All
you
right,
don't know how to
whatever.
count.
Anyway, so the word Yom Kippur, kapara means to cleanse, to clean. Lechaper means to clean. So what Hashem is doing is cleansing us. So that all that punishment is not punishment in itself. It's cleaning us and allowing us to repair the damage that was done through the lack of doing something negative or not doing a mitzvah. You're missing the goodness that's coming. So it's all part of the love that Hashem has for us, that He allows us to correct ourselves through this kapara, whatever it might be, whatever way we have to do it. And in fact, nowadays, when the Beis Hamikdash was standing, maybe you were built speaking our days.
Amen.
So when the Beis Hamikdash stood, so with certain sins that you get a death penalty. Now death penalty doesn't occur anymore because we don't have the Beis Hamikdash, which allows us to do tshuva, to do the kapara, to cleanse ourselves, and not have to go through that extreme punishment that would normally be, because that would be the way of cleansing times Beis Hamikdash. Now, because we're in a lower level, we don't have Beis Hamikdash, the cleansing come without that loss of life. So in that way, there's a benefit to it. But that's basically the idea of not punishing for the sake of punishment, for the sake of cleaning and allowing one to repair the relationship.
All right. So we have one last thing the rabbi isn't aware of. We have a surprise Ask the Rabbi question.
Woof.
So the question, I think I'm going to ask the question first and see if you know who asked the question. And then I'll reveal who asked the question. But the question is, what is a musical semicolon? That's the question.
A musical what?
Semicolon. So do you know who asked the question?
You see on Shabbos. I have to remember who it was.
It was Jamie.
Could
Jamie
have been like,
Boylan,
Gimel.
over from Northeastern.
Oh, is that Chaim?
Maybe. I don't know what his Hebrew name is.
What is it? You, who?
I don't know what his Hebrew name is.
All right, it was one of those nudniks. Anyway,
It works perfectly. A capital N-U, Nick.
right. So here we are. We're already in the first week of Elul. Rosh Chodesh was last week on Thursday, Friday, right? So we're in the month of Elul. We are adding in prayer in the Tehillim that we normally say after davening. We add 3 chapters a day, and then throughout Yom Kippur we add extra, and we finish the whole Tehillim from Rosh Chodesh Elul until Yom Kippur. We do the Tehillim an extra time. Important to add in Torah study and in tzedakah, and to hear the shofar. Oh, I don't have a shofar here. We should have a shofar blowing on the Pos-cast for people that don't actually hear a shofar. At least they hear it. You don't feel the mitzvah, but it has the effect. I don't have a shofar with me. All right, but yeah, important to hear the shofar. So that on Newbury Street, we were also blowing the shofar for people. So people think like I'm blowing the shofar for them to hear, which I was. But the added benefit when you're standing in the street and you're blowing the shofar, like you catch a lot of attention. And I was like, this is good. So yeah, hearing the shofar every day in the month of Elul, and the time of Ani l'doidi v'doidi li, I'm to my beloved, love is to me. This is the time that we reach out to Hashem, and then in Yom Kippur, Hashem responds and gives us the blessing for the new year. So that's the message, inspiration for this week. The Parsha, Ki seitze ala mochama al eivecha, when you go out to war on your enemy, not with your enemy, but on your enemy. Every challenge in life is not a challenge that's parallel to you. You're above. We stand above. Hashem doesn't give us a challenge that we can't overcome, that we can't meet. Any challenge that we have, we dig in and say, I got this. I can do it. Whether it's a question of what to do in Judaism, I can't keep kosher. I can't do this. I can't do that. If Hashem says do it, you can do it. Hashem empowers us to be able to meet any challenge and be successful. So you have that in mind. Al oivecha. We're above, upon our enemy, upon our challenges. And we have that attitude, then for sure we'll be successful we'll all be able to go one step higher in the rung of connecting to Hashem, and we'll guarantee for ourselves Shana Tova Umetuka, a good and sweet new year.
All right. And with that, that ends episode 18 of the
Tied for life.
Pos-cast. We're
Yes.
coming up. We're exiting our teens. We got one more teen left, and then we're into our 20s.
And we got some guests lined up, so stay tuned.
We've got a guest next week. Hopefully, we'll have a guest either the week after that or the week after that. We'll see. We have a lot on the docket here coming up.
Yes. And we look forward to your suggestions and your questions. All the best.
See you next week. Same time, same place.